Hello, I'm Jack Grady, and on behalf of the Archives and History Committee of the First Baptist Church on the Square in LaGrange, Georgia, we welcome Mose Stogner, and we thank him for his military service and also his service to this church. Mose, thank you so much for coming and visiting with us here today.
Jack, thank you for inviting me down here.
I appreciate your willingness to reflect on your experience, your military experience. And it was an unusual time, I guess you could say, when you came into the picture as far as service through the Army. I think it was the Army, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. It was the U.S. Army.
Army service. Well, tell us first where you grew up and started your life and your business and your career. We'll talk a little bit about that later.
Okay. I grew up on Franklin Road, Hillcrest.
Here in LaGrange?
In LaGrange,
yeah.
And about 7-8 miles out of LaGrange.
Mm-hmm.
And there's three boys and 3 girls, in my family.
I see.
And we've always been real close.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
And you have a brother who's in business here, I believe.
Yes, sir. James Stogner.
James Stogner.
Owner of LaGrange Toyota.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Good. Well, as I said, we appreciate your willingness to reflect on the time when you, I believe, how much service time?
2 years.
2 years.
I was drafted.
You were drafted into the U.S. Army.
Yes, sir.
And that was when?
1961 to 1963.
Okay, back in the early 60s. And what was going on in the world at that time? There's something very special, I know, that you'll never forget.
Well, growing up out on Franklin Road and not knowing, I think I went to Atlanta one time with my daddy to produce market up there, and LaGrange was the only thing I ever knew.
I see.
But when I went in the Army, they showed me a little part of the world that I didn't think I'd ever see, and it gave me a good experience.
Good. You were drafted in 1961.
Yes, sir.
You said. You were not in the reserves. You were.
No, sir. I come out, and they wanted me to go in the reserve, but I went to work for Delta Airlines.
Oh,
and
okay.
Didn't participate in the reserves.
Yes. But you were signed up as a person who was available to be called into service if needed.
That's right.
And you were.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that time, that period of time. What was going on?
Well, during that 61 to 63, they were during the Cuban crisis.
Oh, yes.
And I went in service. My basic training was in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And of course, in basic training, you learn a lot. You learn that you got to have somebody that's going to be watching you, and you got to obey all the rules.
Yes.
They taught you how to do that. I mean, no matter what they said, you had to do it. Or try to do it anyway.
Yes. What what was your most difficult experience in basic training? Any challenge that you struggled with?
Well, when you first go in, you still miss your old home.
Oh, yes.
So when I first went in, I struggled by just being away from home. Mm-hmm. But then I realized that I was learning a lot. Mm-hmm. So I tried to do what they wanted me to do.
Sure. You were already in your 20s by that time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Early 20s.
Early 20s.
Okay.
And,
you drilled, I presume.
Yes, sir. We had to do a lot of exercises, calisthenics, run. Mm-hmm. But I was in good shape.
Yes.
Raised out on the old farm, we stayed in good shape. So
sure.
I was able to work with all the other guys. In fact, I set a couple of records on run, dodge, and jump, and do the calisthenics.
Is that right?
And you go through these maneuvers. So
What about rifle range experience?
Well, we had to go on a rifle range just about daily.
Every day, just about.
And in fire, you had to fire M1s, M14s, 38s, 45s. And, you know, luckily I fired expert on every weapon we had.
Oh, boy.
So I was very fortunate.
That is something to be proud of.
And I was proud of that. And the military seemed like they were proud of it for me. So, and the 106, I was in heavy weapons.
Oh,
So we fired 106, we shot down tanks, you know, we had to be up front.
yes.
I was in the infantry.
Boy.
So, anyway.
Foot soldier. A foot soldier.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Ready for action.
Ready. We had to be ready, you
Yeah.
know. That was one of the things they taught us. Whatever we did, try to do our best. So
Of
we
course.
tried to do our best.
Yes. Were you aware of, you mentioned the Cuban crisis. Were you aware of what was going on?
Not at first, I was not. But they sent me to Fort Stewart, from Texas to Fort Stewart. We had to have a train, convoy with a train. And we got to Fort Stewart. That was during the Cuban crisis.
And that Fort Stewart is located where?
Savannah.
Okay, yeah.
Just
all right.
Fort Stewart.
Yes.
Just south north. And we got down to Fort Stewart. That's when John Kennedy was president. And he came down there and walked around us, you know, and told us what was going on.
Is that right?
So I didn't exactly shake his hand, but I was close to it.
Uh-huh.
Then, after we trained down there, and there's a lot of rattlesnakes down in Fort Stewart. A lot of rattlesnakes. We had to do maneuvers around them.
You had to be wary.
We had to be alert on those things.
Yeah. Didn't want any bedfellows with rattlesnakes.
Right.
No.
And I seen one rattlesnake down there, Jack, that swallowed a rabbit whole.
Swallowed a whole rabbit.
But
Good.
anyway, that was an experience.
Yeah, I guess so.
And then we convoyed into Fort Lauderdale, Florida, getting ready to go into the Cuban crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, when we got down to Fort Lauderdale, all the people down there was real nice to us because they knew we was down there to try to protect them, because Cuba was just right over the,
just
over the water there, you know.
Right.
So,
Well, did President Kennedy make comments about what was going on and what you all might experience?
yes, sir, he did. He told us
Thanks you for your service.
anxious to be trained and anxious to be, like I say, we were setting out at the sea on a ship with live ammunition and ready to hit the beach. If those ships hadn't turned around, John Kennedy and them said, if they didn't turn around, we was going to go into combat.
And did you see them, the ships that were coming in?
I was out at a ship, yes, sir. There were ships out there, but I didn't see the ship that turned around. No,
I see.
sir.
But you knew what was going on.
We knew what was going on.
And were prepared to go in.
We were prepared to go in. And I think every one of us on that ship was realized that it could be dangerous.
Sure.
So we were all, I don't know about them, but I think we were all a little bit nervous anyway.
Oh, I'm sure, of course.
But the ships turned around, and Kennedy come in and said, well, the ships turned around, we can turn around. So we turned around and went back.
But you were within view of Cuba.
We were in view of the beach.
Of the beachhead there at Cuba.
Right there in Cuba, yes,
Wow.
sir.
Quite an experience for a youngster.
It was an experience.
I'm sure.
But the whole Army, military is an experience. I think today that most people should go into service that sitting here in this little small towns, they get a lot of good experience.
Oh, yes, yeah. Prepares you for life later.
Life later on. Yes, sir.
Yeah. You were, back in that day, after World War II and Korea, I would have assumed that they no longer had the draft, but you said you were drafted.
I was drafted in
So that was-
1961.
Yeah.
And I think the draft went on for a couple more years after that, because my brother was younger than me, and he got drafted.
I see. Okay.
So it did go on a little while later, but I don't know exactly how much later.
What about the GI Bill that was provided for World War II and other service?
It was still provided for us. We could have went to school.
Okay.
But I elected, I got fortunate I got a good job at Delta Airlines as in maintenance, so I didn't take advantage of the GI Bill.
Would you say that your military experience helped prepare you for later life?
Yes, sir. My military experience prepared me for my later life.
Yeah, okay.
And I recommend it to everybody.
Everybody, yeah. Well, and it certainly paid off for you. Tell us a little bit about your career.
Well, when I got out of high school, I worked in cotton mill here in LaGrange.
Right here.
Callaway Mill, making carpet, you know.
Yes.
Then when I got drafted in the service, I went in service, and I got out of service. My mother worked in the cotton mill here, and I didn't think I wanted to work in the cotton mill. So there was nothing else here in town.
Yeah.
At that time, in '61, it was a kind of small town. So I got an opportunity to go to Delta.
Delta Airlines.
And they hired me right that day. And asked me would I go to work that day. I said, well, I'd like to go back home and get some change of clothes, and I got to come back and find me a place to live.
Sure.
So I went to work for Delta, and Delta was a great place for me. I always loved to go to work. I didn't mind going to work.
That's wonderful.
It's a career that if I ain't got too old, I'd still be there today.
Yeah, it's a good attitude. That's great.
I'd be there today.
Good company. How many years?
30 years.
30 years
Yes,
with
sir.
Delta Airlines. And you kept those planes flying.
Well, tried to.
Yeah, you did. I know
Me
you
and
did.
a lot of others.
Yeah.
But when I left Delta, there was a company out of Texas called me and asked me would I come to work for them, doing basically the same thing. Because at that time, Delta started forming out some of their maintenance.
Oh.
And this company out of Texas asked me would I come to work for them to continue doing what I was doing. So I worked for them for...
What company was that? Do you remember?
Air Base Services.
The Air Base Services.
Air Base Services out of Texas.
I had a good friend who worked for Braniff Airlines out there for a number of years in Texas. Well, what else do you remember about your experience there and the Cuban missile crisis that stands out in your memory? Any particular experiences with?
Some of the things that stands out too is before you go into combat like that, they give you all kind of shots in your arm.
Oh.
Give you prepared because that's one of the things I always remember.
Yeah.
The shots they give you to prepare you to keep your health.
Sure.
But that's basically it.
I see. So everybody had to line up for shots.
Line up to get you a shot. I remember one particular one that guy told me, he said, this is going to hurt when you give you this shot. So I said, okay. So he gave me the shot, and I didn't feel it. But I walked off about 10 steps, and I thought somebody done shot me again. That thing took effect.
Is that
and
so?
it hurt.
Delayed action.
Delayed action. That's it. I remember that.
I guess you would. My goodness. Well, what you would consider to be a memorable experience that stands out in your memory, other than the shots? Things that happened to you while you were in basic training, maybe, or even later training.
Well,
you had 2 stages of training, didn't you?
Yes, sir. This basic training, then AIT, Advanced Infantry Training.
Advanced Infantry Training. Okay.
Yeah.
And where was that conducted?
At Fort Hood, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Big base out there in Texas.
Yes, sir. I remember going on a maneuver. We had to stay in tents a lot.
Tents.
And I trained with Special Forces because they were fitting to go into Vietnam.
Oh.
So I had to train with them. And they trained us pretty hard.
Well, they were going to Vietnam.
They were going to Vietnam when we left. When they left this call, it's Red Forces against the Blue Forces. And pretty heavy training.
So you could have even been caught up in that, couldn't you?
Yes, sir. I could have. But I remember that. It was special. It was a lot of training. Special force people, you have to be in good shape.
I'm sure.
You have to be in real good shape because it was nothing for us to run 10 miles a day.
10 miles a day.
And
run.
And at night, too.
They got you out at night.
And you get your day and night. You train. Not all the time, but, you had to do whatever it took.
Be ready. Be prepared.
And I do remember one thing. We was going on this maneuver, and I was driving not the tank, but the carry-all, big van. And we stopped. And the next morning I got up, and I was 10 feet from a big old cliff. We didn't see that.
And you didn't know it?
Didn't know it until the next morning.
Wow.
So we were I was real close. Well, the whole convoy was close.
My goodness.
But we missed it. God took care of us.
Well, sure. Wow. That would be something that you wouldn't ever forget. Well, you came home after 2 years of service, and you worked for Delta for 30 years. You have a family, I know.
Yes, sir. Got a good wife and 2 good kids.
Yeah, 2 good kids. You all moved back to your home here in LaGrange, your home area, just in recent years, after you retired from Delta, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Moved back to LaGrange.
Yeah.
That's where all my family was.
Yes.
Like I say, I got 2 brothers and 3 sisters. There's 6 of us, so I wanted to come back home.
Sure.
And my wife's from LaGrange also.
Oh, yes. And her name is?
Diane.
Diane.
It used to be Diane Evans, and now it's Diane Stogner.
Yes.
So.
And you all are very active in our church here, and you're active in the community. And I know you volunteer in various things here.
Yes, sir. We love First Baptist Church.
Yeah.
We visited a couple of churches when we came back. Mm-hmm. We visited Faith. We visited a place out on Roanoke Road. But when we come here, Jimmy Thompson. You know Jimmy Thompson. He's the one. He and I grew up together out of Hillcrest.
Oh, okay.
And Jimmy, I come in and we went to his Sunday school class and went to your Paul Baxter.
Yes.
And we fell in love with it.
Yeah, great.
So
that's great.
That's where we are now.
Good, good. And I believe you and Diane also help with the Merrymakers luncheons. Don't
Yes,
you
sir.
help serve the food there?
Yes, sir. Mainly my wife.
Mainly your wife, but she brings you along, and you've also
Yeah.
You're involved, and we appreciate that because that's a very special ministry. Well, Mose, we thank you so much for visiting with us and talking a little bit about your experience with the Cuban crisis back in the early 1960s.
60, yes, sir, 61 to 63.
Yes. And to sit and talk about it and reflect on it, I hope leaves you with a feeling of having done your duty and you moved on to things that were more important to you as far as career and family is concerned. So I'm glad everything worked out for you.
Well, it did, and the military was a good thing.
It helped you. It really did.
It helped me.
Yeah.
And this church has helped me.
Great. Well, that's good. Thank you so much
Thank you,
for coming
Jack.
and be a part of this.